discuss. Joining me now is Pennsylvania Congressman Scott Perry, a member of the House Freedom Caucus, the House Oversight, Foreign Affairs, Transportation and Infrastructure Committees. He's also a retired Army National Guard Brigadier General. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for being here. Tell me your thoughts on FISA.
Well, great to be with you here, Maria, and I think that we can get to a solution, but here's what's not working. The Washington predetermined outcome, and that's what you saw yesterday. We've known this has been coming. We've been working on it for months. Washington wanted an outcome, and they set the conditions to get the outcome that they wanted, not the outcome that the American people want. The FBI and the intelligence agencies have been forced to admit over and over again millions, and the most recent time, hundreds of thousands of illegal queries. Query is a fancy term for search. They've been searching the American people illegally, and this bill would actually allow them to do it. It was set up to allow them to continue to do it, and actually likely to expand their illegal spying on Americans. And there are a number of us that said we absolutely cannot accept that, and we're not going to accept that.
Yeah, and meanwhile, I was told by both George Papadopoulos as well as Carter Page that they were spied illegally because the FBI wanted to take down Trump. This was during the whole Russia collusion lie nonsense. Here they are with me 2 years ago. Watch this. Were you had no idea that you were actually being surveilled?
Yeah, absolutely. My conversations with him intensified right the month before my illegitimate FISA warrant in September 2016, when all these defamatory articles are being placed by the DNC. Judge Deary approved my final FISA warrant in June of 2017. They were illegally breaking into my residences and taking unauthorized photos of my personal belongings. At the very same time, they're also paying this guy who was involved in the Russia hoax and helped start the Russia hoax.
I had absolutely nothing to do with the Russians, but what the informants were actually telling me, I thought was treason. Donald Trump and myself in the campaign had nothing to do with whatever these people mentioned, and that I love America.
And that's the exculpatory evidence that they did not present to the FISA court.
That's absolutely correct.
Yes.
They were cherry-picking strange information.
Your thoughts, Congressman?
Well, the president said at that period of time that they had spied on his campaign. And as you recall, the mainstream media and the general Washington establishment, and certainly the left, said that he was crazy and it's just more Trump lying and misinformation and disinformation. Again, they have been forced to admit that they have done this. And of course, it has changed the world and the course of history. This is the time to get this right. This is why we have demanded very robust and real reforms, not just show reforms, but real reforms. And most of us, myself included, have said we've got to do whatever we have to do with foreign actors that might provide hostility towards the United States of America. But when it comes to people in America, when it comes to American citizens, you abide by the Constitution and you get a warrant, which means there has to be probable cause. It has worked for hundreds of years, and it is our standard in America. And that's why one of the reasons people want to come to America, because they know and they want to know and have the confidence that they don't live in a police state. And I would just say this, Maria, people say all the time, well, we give our information to Google or we give our information to online sellers and so on and so forth. None of those folks have the ability to arrest you at the end of a gun. And that's the difference with the government having this awesome power and awesome authority.
Are you going to be able to actually see a change with the same players at the wheel at the FBI? I mean, come on. Let's face it. You've got the FBI leadership wanting to take down Trump from day one. A couple of years into it, they're spying on him even while he's a sitting president of the United States. A couple of years later, you've got the same cast of characters telling us that the Hunter Biden laptop may not be real and it's Russian disinformation. I mean, it's happening over and over again with the same cast of characters, and they're still running the FBI. So you're really going to move the needle here?
You're absolutely right, Maria, but we have to. This is the first step at moving the needle. There can be more robust steps taken, but this is the first step and the appropriate step for the legislature to take. Beyond this, there's going to be an election in November, and that change of personnel at the FBI can be affected then, and I hope and suspect it will be.
Okay, let me move on, because Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene says no deal was reached yesterday when she met with House Speaker Mike Johnson. The two discussed, of course, Greene's threat to oust Johnson, bring a motion to vacate. She's been outspoken about her doubts of his leadership after the consistent continuing resolutions that you all keep agreeing to. Congressman, where does this stand?
Well, I think the sword hangs over Mike Johnson's neck. And I would just say yesterday's actions probably didn't win a whole lot of new advocates, unfortunately, for the Speaker. But I still certainly think there's time for him to get the ship right. I think that Representative Taylor Greene in her letter made a very compelling case. The American people elected Republicans and put us in the majority to change the course and the direction that the left has taken this country, the hard left radical turn that it has taken us on. And at this point, we haven't been that effective. It's not all Speaker Johnson's fault, but the time for him to step up is right now.
Yeah, I mean, what is it going to take for you to secure the border? And, you know, foreign policy in general, President Biden is slamming Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over and over again over the deaths now of the 7 humanitarian aid workers. Of course, a tragic situation in the fog of war. But Biden keeps pushing for this ceasefire in the fight against Hamas, even though we still do not have a word on whether or not we're going to see hostages released. Watch this.
I think what he's doing is a mistake. I think it's outrageous that those three vehicles were hit by drones and taken out on a highway. So what I'm calling for is for the Israelis to just call for a ceasefire, allow for the next 6-8 weeks total access to all food and medicine going into the country.
Is that the right tact?
Well, this is coming from a man who sits behind a security detail. It also comes from a man who botched the Afghanistan withdrawal, which, by the way, who never apologized for the killing of Afghan women and children and, generally speaking, innocent civilians that were out trying to get water. That was an American strike as well under his command. And so I would urge the Prime Minister to make sure that Israel is safe and Israel is secure and do whatever is necessary to make sure that happens. And don't take any military or strategic advice from President Biden. As the former defense secretary said, he's been on the wrong side of every major foreign policy strategic circumstance for the past 40 years. And this case is no different.
Well, it certainly has been stunning to see him attack Netanyahu in the middle of the public, you know, in this public showing in the middle of literally Israel's fight for its life and survival.
Right.
Congressman, we're going to be watching this closely. Thanks very much.